Well, shifting gears to sustainability and more on the green economy, a pressing question is how you can help meet the world's net zero goals with sustainable investments. Green bonds might be the answer. For more, let's get to Ian Henschke, Chief Advocate of National Seniors Australia. Great to have you with us, Ian. So how can we all help, and are green bonds, as we mentioned, the answer here?
Well, I think they are the answer because we're going to need a huge amount of money to, if you like, re-engineer the world to a green economy. Now, the British government 2 years ago, in fact, in September 2 years ago, released green bonds in their country, and they're available for ordinary people to buy for as little as £100 or as much as £100,000. So, in fact, the British government has sought capital from the community, and then they are investing that in all sorts of projects across the UK. Some of them include decarbonising hospitals and schools and government buildings, also preparing for events such as flooding, which is likely to happen more in Britain as well. So what we're saying to the Australian government is they should be looking at what's happening in Britain and doing it here. Now, the Australian government has announced in July 2024 that they will be issuing green bonds, but this is the catch. They've only said that they'll be issuing them to institutional investors. Now, I'll give you a piece of information which I'm sure all your viewers would almost find jaw-dropping. In Australia, according to the ACCC, there is $1.3 trillion sitting in saving and term deposit accounts in Australian households. $1.3 trillion. Now, if only a fraction of that went into green bonds, you can see what a pool of finance would be available to help us get to this target, which at the moment seems to be almost moving away from us, which is net zero.
Yeah. Are you actually finding, though, in your research that older Australians are interested in becoming part of the solution?
Well, in fact, it's quite remarkable. When we surveyed our members, we found that more than half of them would be interested in buying a green bond. That's of the group that already has money invested in term deposits. So you're looking at, as I said, a huge pool of people who would invest in green bonds. Now, this is something that the government has to actually consider. When they look at the older investor, they want a safe investment, they want a secure investment, and more importantly, they want something that they know will do something for the next generation. Older people are actually very concerned about the future. We did a survey earlier about the impact of climate change, and we found that if you cross over Australia from whichever state you see and you average them out, almost 90% of Australians believe that climate change is happening. So Australians are concerned about climate change. The older generation is concerned about the world that they will be leaving their children and their grandchildren. And this is a way that they can do it. So we're saying again to the government, if you're issuing green bonds next year, which they are going to do in July next year, that they're going through the process with the ASX at the moment, they should actually have what they've got in Britain. Now, in the UK, you can walk into the NSI, the National Savings and Insurance Bank, and simply buy them over the counter. Now, Australia doesn't have a government bank anymore, I suppose, other than the Reserve Bank, but we've got post offices all over Australia. And one of the things we're suggesting is you should be able to just go into a post office, buy a green bond, and we would suggest that the figures would be similar to the UK. You should be able to buy one for as little as $100 or a maximum of, say, $250,000 worth of green bonds, because that's the government guarantee that's there on the term deposits at the moment. And then just see that money come in to do all sorts of projects. One of the projects the government was talking about at one stage was community batteries. Now, you could actually have community batteries built into communities across Australia. That would help lower the cost of electricity, which at the moment is one of the biggest ticket items for most people, not just older Australians. So I think we've got a great idea here. And in fact, one of our members, National Seniors member, is Professor Rob Morrison. Now, I'm not sure whether you might remember a show called The Curiosity Show. It was, I think it was on the Channel 9 network, but he was a person there who was encouraging people to think about science. Well, he's now in his 80s, and when he found out about these green bonds in Britain, he said, I will help you in whatever way I can in publicity. I'll talk about it, because he said, I want to buy them for my grandson. I want to buy them for myself. I want to do something about climate change. And he's a classic older Australian. I think he's on a part pension. He wants to invest whatever money he's got in something that's worthwhile, and I think it's a fabulous idea. And in fact, we've had older Australians contact us and say, when can I buy them? Where can I buy them? Well, Jim Chalmers, you've got the opportunity there to put Australians' money where the rhetoric is.
Yeah.
You say we have to act on climate change. The Intergenerational Review last week said the two biggest challenges are the costs of the ageing community and climate change. These are the two of the biggest challenges Australia's facing. So here you've got an opportunity to bring the two together, have older Australians do their bit for climate change. And in fact, in the UK, it's not just been older Britons that have been taking up the green bonds. It's been ordinary Britons, young people, middle-aged people. They've all been buying them.
I was going to say, I mean, I think this would be something that perhaps a lot of people would be wanting to get into, but I've got to say, as somebody who spent 45 minutes in a post office queue the other day, I don't want to be lining up at the post office. So perhaps another way for younger people to buy them online or something.
Well, you could buy them online.
Yeah, absolutely. I know you're talking about the seniors going into a post office, which is great. Just in terms of, there's always a lot of concern about greenwashing. How do you think those concerns are going to be handled?
Well, Britain has very, very high standards in this area, and they have a number of